Hello and welcome to today's webinar. I'm actually doing a reshoot because I felt like the last one was a bit of a disaster. So I'm just going to go through a lot of the topics and different things that we did and do it on a level that isn't live and experience some of the hiccups that happen with that seem to happen often. So I'm going to go through this. One of the things that Lyle asked me to do was to go through the website. We felt like there were a lot of questions and different things that people brought up about navigating it and where to find certain things. So I kind of want to point out some pointers on how to use it, how to use a browser in general, and help you be able to find some things and some things that we are changing here in the very near future. So I'll hop over to that. Let me actually move here. Now you're seeing my desktop. I want to make sure that the audio is there. It is. So we have Snowie's website here, and I'm actually going to make this large. And when you first come to the site, you will see these banners, kind of these sliders, I think is what our developer calls them. These will often show you things that are new. Now obviously the flower cups aren't new, but we've now made them easily available to purchase online. And so that's a new item that way. And these will actually, because I clicked on one, they're not cycling on their own. But normally they'll cycle through on their own. And you can often see a lot of the new things that we're doing and releasing and working on all within these banners. So these are a great place to check some stuff out. So, we mentioned the flower cups. We also have 9 new flavors that we added to our natural line. And this is going to be an item that we're going to be talking about today, the smart syrups, which is actually our compliance for the school program set forth by the Obama administration, which is the smart snacks for schools. Anyway, we'll go over that a little bit, but let's go through the website a little bit more. So our site is search-based. So I want you to remember that. If there's anything that you're looking for, often, and unless there was something that we did not put in a tag, you can come up here and say, let's say I'm looking for a mixer. I'm like, okay, I want to be able to mix my sugar water in a certain way. Well, there's some mixing options that I have right there. I have our new 30-gallon mixer. We're actually discontinuing the 50-gallon. We have a 5-gallon mixer that's a mount that holds a drill so you can walk away from it and the bit that actually goes inside. These shavers actually show up, but that's because they have starter kits that include a mixer with them. I imagine that's why they're showing up. So you can do things like that. You're able to just search and go through that way. Now another area, and I'm just going to keep going across this. So we have products. So you can see a lot of our core products. We have a Snowie bus, our buildings, kiosk, carts, ice shavers, flavors, our natural flavors, and then we get down to accessories where we have our flavor stations, our operating supplies, dispensing, and different things. And then we also have a parts section where you can actually go in and see different parts to buildings, to the shavers. So if I'm looking at the 3000, there's actually 22 parts that you can replace and change and get for your Snowie 3000 shaver. So this becomes very, very nice and very slick. And you can go through that and do that from these drop downs, or you can actually click on the header itself and you'll see all of those categories and you'll have visuals that kind of illustrate what it is you're looking to go into. Now remember also we have a chat now option down here. We are usually always on that except for off hours, and even then we are on it quite a bit. This is a slick option. We're on the other end of that and we're here to answer those questions very quickly. So if there's something that you cannot find, I'll often just copy the link, paste it to you, and it directs you right to where you need to go. And if not, then we can work that on our end, and it also acts as a notification. Hey, this isn't on the web. Will you please get it up there? And we do that as well. So scrolling across, one question that I get quite a bit is, how much can you make from this business? And I tell people, well, click on the potential earnings link. And sometimes they don't see that, and it's a prominent button, and it's one of the main buttons that we keep on every one of our pages. And obviously, it's as accurate as we can make it. Every location is going to be different. A lot of what we're doing here is the cost of goods sold, things like that that are static pricing. But obviously, the level of business that you're having at your location totally varies. So there's nothing here that can guarantee that's what you're going to make. It just gives you a good idea. You know, like we have sales per day. We tell people you should be making $350 at a location, and this is obviously talking about our buildings, which are stationary locations that go in front of supermarkets. And you can go through and be like, okay, well, if I made 200, what am I pulling down? If I made more than that, you can alter each of these numbers and change that. And then you can also put in salary, what you're paying people per hour, and how long you're open, things like that. And you can add your rent to it. Anyway, this is very slick. And one of the questions that Lyle, he mentioned, people cannot get to our video. And I don't know if I need to change this, but we felt like media was a good header to where people could go into. So we have photo galleries there, and we also have a video gallery. And when you go into the video gallery, you'll see many videos that we have. And many of them are webinars, such as this. I wanted to be able to show you that up here you can actually have filters that are built in. So if you want videos that are just on the bus, you can do that. If you want ones that are specifically webinars, you can do that. Ones that are on the kiosk, you can do that, and so on and so forth. So that helps you break it down. One thing that Lyle has also requested is that we actually create a list, so you don't have to scroll through this at all. You would be able to just look at your list and see what you want. Now, one thing that I wanted to show you here, and you can do this on a PC or a Mac. So on my Mac, I'm hitting Command F, which brings up a search. You'll see it up here at the top right. And on a PC, you'll hit Control F. Now this will happen on any browser. This isn't the functionality of the site, but it searches the text on the site. So let's say I wanted to do winter eyes. Oh, and one thing that I would do, I went over here, I would make sure that you are on all, so you know that all the videos are there, that you could scroll for a long time to see each and every one of those. And you can come up here and say, I want to know how to winterize my building. Well, now I came right to winterize. I know where that video is, and it's actually this one. The image is below the text. And so it took me right there. So now I didn't need to search and scroll through. If I knew what I was looking for, I went right to it. And sometimes we'll actually talk to people over the phone or over the chat and say, hey, check out webinar 13 on the block and 3,000 ice shavers or something. If it referenced something specific and we remember that, then we'll throw them towards a webinar and they can come in and look for it. And in that case, you could just search for the number 13, pound 13, and it's going to take you right to it. So that's a hint for our website, and it's also a hint for the web. If you ever are looking for something on a page, I never ever scroll for anything. If I know what I'm looking for, and I Google it, I go on that page, and then I do a find for it, and it takes me right there. So a little hint on life as well. So the other thing too is financing. Kind of touch on the newbie there as well. We have these financing options that are through LeaseStation and also through Paramount, and they're wonderful for all of our equipment. It was a little more difficult to finance a bus. They usually have funds that peak out, but they're still able to work certain things to where they can get people into the vehicle. Where we have Jeff Campbell, who is actually out of Murdoch Chevrolet, and he has some new financing options that let you finance it as a consumer, where these actually require, in order to get a good rate, you need to be in business for 2 or 3 years, and then you can finance at a very good rate. They can also finance you as a startup, but that rate increases, and a lot of times that rate is painful for people. especially when you're doing something at the price of a bus. So we ended up trying to work different ways of being able to do this, and Jeff actually provided a solution to us after we requested often. And he is able to take that van and finance it with all of the build out, everything as a consumer loan. So you're in the single digits. It's just as if you were going out and buying a car. He usually requires, I believe, 10 to 30,000 down. So if you're able to put down 10,000 on that vehicle, he can usually put you right into it, which is slick. Even these others often require a down payment that is heftier than that. Very, very nice. So point that out, but also point out the page overall. Financing, I get asked quite a bit over chat, what about financing? Well, there's a link right at the top that can direct you through this, and you can go through and read these and see some discussion that we've had on them, see some of the details that Lee Station and Paramount have, and also Jeff. We have our blog, which we encourage you to go to and participate in. This shows actually a visit that we did to Duck Commander. Really cool, and we have some other neat stuff that's coming around the corner with that. And I'm actually going to share a little experience with that today about some product that we've got as well. And you have a contact, and then you also have a community page. Now here you can see your story thing that we did, where people wrote stories about them doing their own Snowie, testimonials. We're going to have some cool stuff coming there as well. And one thing that I want to point out here specifically is the forums. Now we have a forum, and this actually ended up having to be rebuilt. I think I've said over this before, we had some inappropriate content that basically was put on and took over our site, our forum site, and it had its fingers in everything so hard that we've essentially had to start over. So we encourage you to come on here, ask your questions here. A lot of people will go to the chat and you get your answer right away, but it's always nice to throw that on a forum as well. And we need to try and be better about even the chats that we have to record some of that, at least on our side, and put it into the forum so that you can access those at different times. But this is a very valuable page. Like one thing that I always get is the wattage and different things for the shavers. Can I use my 3000 with an inverter? What are the amps and watt usages of the shavers? All these, everything has an answer here, and these are very, very valuable to you when you're trying to figure out power for your location. One of the last items is we have find a Snowie vendor. This, we cannot put you guys on there. You have to put yourself on this. We can't legally go out and put you on because we're not a franchise. So there's some things that we cannot do for you. So if you want to put your location, if you're running your Snowie business, and it does have to be Snowie in order to do this, you have to be branding it as Snowie. But you can come in and brand your business on this. So if I just wanted to see some locations that are out there, I have 18 results that are found, and let's see that 2 are in this area in Cherry Grove and Anderson, Ohio. I can see that those are there. Now obviously we have like 18 of them. Is that what it said? 18 locations that are out here right now, and there are literally thousands of you out there. If you want your location on our website, and I'll tell you, we get a fair amount of calls where people are saying, hey, is there a Snowie in my area that can come and do a party, or that we can go visit? And we have that request often, and it's a little hard for us because we can't throw business where there may be multiple of you there. It's hard. We can't choose who gets that. So let people find you out here on their own. This is very valuable for that, and we totally revamped this tool to make it easier for people to be able to find you. So take advantage of this. This is slick. Now, one of the areas that Lyle asked me to specifically talk about was in our flavor section. We have all of our flavors, and you don't see that on this initial page because those flavors vary on each one of these categories. Our concentrates, there's a certain amount of flavors that are available, actually all of them. And then in our ready-to-use, a portion of those are available in ready-to-use. And then miscellaneous items that we have in those as well. So if you go into concentrates, you're able to see a whole list of everything that we have. So then, well, again, you have a breakdown here now. So now we have a naturals version, so we didn't put that on this page. And then we have our regular versions and different sizes for that. So we have 4 ounce, pint, and gallon. And you have some variant sizes here. You can see the price fluctuation. You have those in there as well. But let's go into pints and the concentrate. And this will now allow you to be able to see certain items in here. And okay, so in this first little section, I apologize for the noise. I actually came in at 5 in the morning, and we have some diligent employees that came in also, so that they're welding in the back. But so anyway, in this first section here, these are available in concentrates. So these are all of our flavors available in concentrate. And we have this recommended product section, which I think kind of throws people off because it makes you think you're at the bottom of your page. So I'll see what I can do to bump this down. But then below that you have our top 50 flavors. So this is the ranking that we get asked about quite a bit. And we tell people that it's on the website, but they do need to go into first the flavors, the concentrates, and then go into whatever size that they want, or they're actually going to make a selection of which item they want, and scroll down and they're able to see that ranking there. We also have flavor allergens that we get quite a few calls about and people asking. So if I am going to, let's say I click on, it doesn't matter, let's click on banana. Oh, I thought I clicked on black cherry. But banana, if I scroll through this, I see that in the product itself it has none of these items, but yet it has yes to corn and it has yes to yellow number 5. And then we have 3 categories of how severe that is. So depending on the severity of the allergy, you can drill down. So if it's present in other products that are manufactured on the same line, that you can see each of those. So milk, peanuts, and so on and so forth. And then you can drill down even deeper if it's present in the same plant and not even necessarily on the same line. And you can see what has a yes on that as well. And you can do it for each of these flavors. We went into coconut, you can see that corn, yes, in the same line. They did not have anything for that 3rd level is essentially what the non-applicable means, or not available. We have that for regular flavors, we also have that for our natural line. So now you know where those are, and also where you're able to find the rankings for our flavors. And as I mentioned, the Smart Snacks for School, one thing that I wanted to talk about with that is this is the pack that you get. This will make a 5-gallon jug. For a time we didn't hear anything about it. It was all great, and then we started hearing that it actually puts like a residue at the bottom of the 5-gallon jug, so they worried that all of this was going to the bottom of the 5-gallon jug. And so we went through, we did some tests, and the reality is it does mix. You just need to mix it longer. It's not like sugar. The sugar mix is actually quite fast. This will take more time than that. So you'll want to make sure that it has a long mixing time, and to make it even better you can do the following. So if you add to like a quart bottle, or I mean if you just have a pitcher of water and get that really hot, just out of the tap, and you add this to it, it will dissolve much quicker. Then once you have it dissolved in that liquid, you can pour that into your 5-gallon jug, then add the rest of the water and mix it, and it will mix right away. So that's probably the best route to go. Now obviously if you're going to take that product and serve it right away, hot water throws a wrinkle in that. You don't want to be putting hot water on shaved ice. You want to make sure that you make this previous to your event, like days in advance, so that the temperature will not matter. And we have people that do that with sugar water as well. We usually use those larger mixers, and so hot water doesn't necessarily, it doesn't matter. Like I say, sugar mixes very easily, but when doing these you need to take your time to mix it, or you need to mix it with hot water first, and that will help you quite a bit. So check that out. Try that. I wanted to kind of drill down and tell you a little bit more about this. So now in order to be able to serve shaved ice in schools, the Obama administration put a program in place called Smart Snacks for Schools. And in order to comply with that, you need to do certain things. And we have actually gone through and showed you our compliance with that. Now we have a sugar content that falls well within the range. Once you are mixing that with your shaved ice, you don't give them the content of the sugar at the syrup level. It's not like they're drinking an 8-ounce cup of straight syrup. That gets diluted greatly over the shaved ice. You only put in 2 or 3 ounces of flavor in a shaved ice. Then on top of that, what they asked you to do, it needs to be a whole grain, rich grain product. Now notice there's an or on the end of each and every one of these. It's not and. And a lot of people fear that, like it needs to be multiple things. It needs to be that or. And it needs to have as the first ingredient a fruit, vegetable, a dairy product, protein, or food. Or be a combination food that contains at least a 1/4 cup of fruit or a vegetable. Or contain 10% of the daily value of one of the nutrients of public health concern in the 2010 dietary guidelines for Americans, which are calcium, potassium, vitamin D, or dietary fiber. We chose that last option, and we were going to add vitamin D and do it on its own. And then we read further on how much better it is to take vitamin D combined with other vitamins. And so we added 10% of the daily value of them as well. So what we added was calcium, and also magnesium, and you can see those here. And we talk about that a bit more. If you go into the additional information, it talks about how if you're taking calcium, unless you're taking it with magnesium and vitamin D, then the calcium is virtually worthless. And so that explains our purpose in doing that. If you're not able to absorb certain vitamins because you're not getting other vitamins, then it's pointless. So we wanted to make sure that if we're doing this, we're going to do it right. So I wanted to be able to point that out. Feel free to go through and read more on these, but know that you have this now that you can approach schools with. You can show them this web page. We also have flyers that are available that you can print and take to them and use as a leave behind. And we have others of those as well. We have all kinds of postcard-sized leave-behinds that you can take to schools, drop them off, and have this as an additional one so they know that you comply with the Smart Snacks program. I mentioned that visit that we did to Duck Commander. It was a cool little experience for me and seeing how this product was reacted to. Now we get feedback constantly from people that are like, wow, it's wonderful. And what I'm referring to is cream topping. Now with cream topping, I feel like I haven't properly done this product justice. We have it here, I've had it, it's delicious. We've served it at our summit, people would say it's delicious. But in the back of your mind, you're like, well, how is it compared to real dairy? So one of our reasons for creating it, one of the core reasons, is to get it to pass the health department in a mobile stand. Now if you have a stand that's plumbed, and you have water coming to your building, and you have sewer, and you have a commercial fridge, then you can do dairy all you want. You can do half and half, sweetened condensed milk, to do what is called a snow cap. And that's where you put cream on top of your shaved ice. And we created this so that you would be able to do that and get the health department off your back. You can literally mix this up, and it comes in this form. Well, it's sealed in a package. You use 1 1/4 cups of this, top it off with water, and you're done. But one of the good things with it is you do not need it's a non-dairy product, so you don't need a commercial fridge to be able to store it. It doesn't need to be refrigerated or kept cool, and so often we will just use one of the champagne coolers and that have ice in them, stick that in there, and it's great. As long as it's being kept cool, it's wonderful. It has a shelf life of about a week. It still does not last long. Even though it's not a dairy product, it still needs to be used quickly. But that's how I've always pitched it. I've always thought, man, this is a replacement, something to do when you're not doing dairy. And then we went out to Duck Commander, and they said, we want to compare everything right now. And I thought, cool. So they sent one of their employees to go get sweetened condensed milk, went through and poured it on some, and then we used our cream topping and poured it on some and had everybody, their whole staff, try it. And I kid you not, 100% of everybody there had the wow factor. They would taste it and they were like, whoa, this is delicious, and it was the Snowie Cream Topping. And they were doing the straight dairy on the other, and they were like, it's all right, that's good. And when they ate ours, every one of them were blown away by the taste. And it was a cool thing to witness, and I feel like I have done it a bit of injustice because I've always tackled the health department side of it and that reason for creating it, and forgot to mention this is really an incredible product. And it's something that brings people back to your stand more than anything else. Adding ice cream, we ended up doing a webinar just before on toppers, where I talked about cream topping a bit there too. And you can use those ice cream pucks to pop ice cream in. Do those things, and it can create an incredible amount of popularity for your stand. So make sure that you do that. So that brings an end to our webinar today. We have a lot of cool things that are coming up. One of the changes that we're going to do, well, one thing that will stay the same is we are going to continue to do it every other Thursday, and so you have a scheduled time where you can come and join us on these webinars and make them live still. And we're also going to have random live segments where we are going to go to events, and so they won't be on Thursdays, they'll be on Saturdays, they'll be on Friday nights, and we'll just put out an announcement on our social media and through an email blast, say, hey, we're going to this event tonight, come and join us. And we'll take you through a live segment. You can ask questions and say, hey, what are you guys doing right there? And you can see how we're moving through a crowd really quickly and different things like that. So we're going to be adding a bunch of random webinars to this. Our schedule on the Thursday webinars is going to be 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, so 7 o'clock Eastern. So we're bumping that up an hour, and we're going to do those fairly consistently. We've been extremely busy and trying to tackle a bunch of things, so this is one area where we are getting back into, and we've got a lot of feedback on how valuable these are, so we're making sure that we do them. Thank you for attending today. Obviously I won't have questions because I'm not recording live in this segment, but we will talk to you soon. Thanks.